Hello everyone, and welcome to Triple D Models and Games, where we talk about models, games, collectibles, and so much more. Today we'll be talking about the Tamiya Panzer II Ausf G and F. So this is an older model, and this model comes from either 1971 or 72. Couldn't get the exact date because I don't have the box to this model. These are the instructions right here in front of you. So this has some historical detail about the tank, some very interesting stuff. You can see that the paper is quite yellowed, so this is an older model. It'll have some holes in it because of someone had some glue mixed up in it. But it is a very nice set of instructions here. And so here we have some stuff talking about specifications. This is the kit number 3509. And then this also gives you some instructions on how to assemble some units that come with the model as well as a commander. So on the back side we do have all of the instructions to put together the tank itself and the units, the men. And so here we have all the stuff on the side that shows you how to put the men together. This is all very interesting stuff here. And it's also a long paper fold-out. So here is the actual model itself. There's no box, and so we're taking everything out here. And it does come with these plastic tracks, so it's not link-on-link plastic tracks. It's more of like a rubber vinyl type of material. And these are old school from early Tamiya, like I said, 1971 or 1972. So these guys use a plastic rivet system where you get a screwdriver or a nail. It actually recommends you get a nail and heat it up super hot, and you kind of rivet down the plastic rods into a hole on the other side. And so that's how it stays together. This is the top hole and the bottom hole. Already disassembled or taken off. One of the sprues is missing that has some of the stuff to it. But everything is there to double check. These are the polymer caps that allow all of the wheels to spin and rotate freely. I dislike fixed wheels, but that's just me. And then, of course, we move on to the two main sprue sets. This is the main tank sprue set, so this is what we'll be opening and using to assemble the main tank. And I'll only be doing this and the commander, although I'll do the commander on my own off screen. This is the set of troops. This is the units that come with it. You can see they all have large bases as well. I won't be doing those this time. I'll be setting them aside. We'll do those at a later date. I like to do all of my units in one big batch so I can hit them all with a primer. This is the turret. It did come loose. Like I said, the sprue was missing. I assume it came with the hull top and bottom, but I'm not going to really worry about it. Like I said, everything is here. I made sure everything was here before I bought this. So now moving right along, we're going to start to assemble the model. Nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. I do recommend that you have a pair of tweezers or reverse tweezers. It's what I like. Some Tamiya extra thin cement or a cement of your choice. I like extra thin because it bonds really well. Some sprue cutters, and an X-Acto knife. This is a bit older, it's not super sharp, but it will still split you open. Usually save older X-Acto knives to cut out stuff on the model, so that way it doesn't damage something or on your knife. This is one of the first main sprues that has some of the details on it, as well as the hatch, and then the second set has everything on there. And then, interestingly enough, the suspension to the older Tamiya models is actually molded into the lower hull. On some of the newer ones, it's a separate piece. The suspension and the bogies are actually a different piece, but here they're molded in. Quite detailed. And then on the inside, they do have a compartment to put all of the battery, and it was supposed to be like a remote control or a gearbox system to turn the wheels for you. I'm not worried about that. There's some holes here that I will fill up at some point, but honestly, not too worried about it. Tamiya putty will help fill those out. Now we're going to get on to the main assembly of the model. We're going to go ahead and assemble all of the wheels together, put them on, get the lower hull and the top hull completely finished in one big batch. you saw there when I ended, I did have all the wheels attached to it just to make sure they all fit, and I did have all the correct number of wheels. I did take them off because I'm going to be painting this, and so when I do paint this, I like to do all the wheels separately because the wheels kind of get in the way of coating the body with primer and base. I also attached some loose bits to a piece of tape just to make sure they don't fly off anywhere. Brown carpet and brown spots don't really mix well. You tend to lose parts in your carpet. If you have a hardwood floor or a different colored carpet, yay for you. This is the turret right here. At the bottom does fit into the top, but it has a few gaps I need to fill in with some putty and do some light sanding. But now we're going to go ahead and move into the assembly of the turret and then a lot of the parts on the upper hull. And now I'm going to fill in the holes on the bottom where some of the motorized or RC equipment would have gone. I'm not too sure if Tamiya still sells the parts, the gearboxes for this exact model, but I will be filling those holes and sanding them down with some Tamiya basic type, just gray putty. Not the epoxy, but the regular just comes in a tube. I do have a flattened bamboo stick, so I can try to apply this. It gets a bit messy. I really don't like filling holes like this because it's a long process that makes the plastic soft. I did remember to go back and put some masking tape over those holes so that way I have a base with which to put the putty into. So now with the finished model assembled, we'll be doing some armor texturing. I did sand the inside neck of the turret, so on the underside of the turret and on the upper hull as well, to give it some ease of movement when it's painted. And I'm just going to very quickly add some texture to the armor. We're using Tamiya extra thin cement mixed with some Tamiya basic putty. Now you have to use Tamiya basic gray putty, but you can use any type of cement that you want, assuming that it melts styrene. I wouldn't recommend using lacquer thinner, it makes it too runny. But you're going to get this to a milk-like, or slightly thicker than milk-like consistency, and you're going to apply this as the armor. And it's going to serve two purposes. It's going to give it a more thick look, and it's going to give it some pits, especially if you use a bristle brush, to give it some deformities. It's going to give off a more plated look. So I am applying this to the upper front plate and the lower front plate, which are pretty much the only places where the armor was thick on this thing. I mean, it only had between 5 and 15 millimeters of armor on the whole thing. So enough to stop maybe a couple rounds, but nothing too crazy. This was a very early war tank for Germany. So I'm just applying this. Try not to apply it too liberally because it is rather hard to get off. You can scrape it off with an X-Acto knife, but you want to be as accurate as you can be. I also put this on the turret. I just didn't film it. I did make some mistakes, so I did have to use an X-Acto knife to scrape some off. But here I'm going to sand this, and I'm going to sand the putty both on the turret and on the hull as well, just because you want to get a nice even surface. I'm applying little to no pressure here, so you just really want to just barely sand this thing. I'm using 3200 grit, so 3200 grit, very, very soft, very, very fine. We're not trying to eat away any of this, we're just trying to make it level, because a rolled homogeneous armor was rolled between two rollers to a certain thickness and then welded together. So we're not trying to make this, super smooth, remove material, we're just trying to make this uniform. So I do this to the turret, and I do this to the upper front and lower front plate, as well as some of the extra pieces. Can't do all of it because some of it's hard to get to, but I do as much as I can. And like I said, this helps the paint kind of adhere better, because if you just leave huge pits in there, or pits that are larger than you think they are, it's going to want to pool in certain areas. We don't want that. So I just go through here sanding this thing. This doesn't take you too long. Like I said, don't remove too much material, and you'll have yourself a very nice model. This is my first video. I was just going to make this model as a companion to my M22 Locust, or I guess the adversary to my M22 Locust tank. But I thought, hey, why not film it with my crappy camera that I have right now and record some audio for it? I will be getting some better equipment in the future, but for now, I just wanted to film this so that way I could paint it and get it out of the way, because it's something I really wanted to do, especially not having a box. So this is the fully assembled model right here, with the tracks on it and everything. I will be painting this in a separate video. We'll go over some weathering details as well. But yeah, for now, look forward to the next painting video, and thank y'all for watching.